It's the end of the day with Ray. It's Friday. The weekend's ahead of us. You know, my friends, part of what I've been doing for the last year and a half is convincing dealers that, man, it can't be just about print. You have to go out. You have to diversify your deliverable. You got to look in new places, explore the unknown. But before we can add anything to the existing deliverable of print, we have to make sure we have a functional admin department. So I brought in Diane, Waltemath, to help me out and answer a couple of questions around this. You know, Diane, a lot of times the objections, any new deliverable attempt, the objection is, well, we don't have enough time in admin to do that. So a real quick question, how much bandwidth is in admin in most of the dealerships across the country if you averaged it? What do you think it is?
I would say there's at least 30% bandwidth within an administration of any dealership that I've walked into.
That's a lot, folks, 30%. So the question is, can we take that 30% and diversify, add some bandwidth to bring in other products and services? And what do you believe? Do you believe the women and the men in those departments are capable of doing that?
Absolutely. I would tell you that administration, you tend to have longer tenure in those folks. And so they really understand the business, the programs, and the customers as well. Those are the folks that actually execute and create the systems for every single thing that the organization sells. So if the executive group gets together and defines the strategic plan for the organization, how we're going to move forward, it's not for administration to get in the way of that. Rather, it's for that group to execute.
Well, here's a question for you, Diane, because a lot of people say, hey, admin's a cost center. It's a cost center. And I believe today, with some of the diversifications we could bring to a dealership, one is e-commerce. Couldn't we actually turn admin into a profit center?
You absolutely could, and I've had experience with that. Like I said, when you really tap that group, when you increase and train and start to harvest their ideas, start to understand the pain points, that's when you start to realize increased collaboration, increased automation, expense reduction related to labor headcount, and the reappropriation of talented folks to be able to do other things like e-commerce.
Well, I got to tell you, it seems to me that a lot of dealerships will focus on the fact that, hey, we got to bring in something different. We want to diversify. I think of IT, the ones that have attempted IT services. But they'll take on this new deliverable and they'll try to jam all those functions through a print-centric admin department, which usually causes a failure. So it seems to me the best place to start with any diversification is not with the sales department, not with the marketing department, but actually with the admin department. Fix it. Get that bandwidth, understand what that bandwidth really is, and then move forward. In your case, if you were to come into a dealership and you look at the admin, what does it take to do an assessment on that admin's dealership, for you to go back to that principal and say, you know what, you do have 30% bandwidth, and here are the areas where we think we can improve. How long does that normally take you to do that?
Well, first, as you said it a moment ago about planning, and that is something that we've seen many of these dealerships do, right? Cart before the horse, get the sale before they develop the systems within administration to support the sale. And the real tragedy of all of that is the customer experience, right? What dealers need to do, how long does it take? It doesn't take that long. It takes, a couple days. Even we can remote access into the ERP to understand the different data points, right? And you may, as a leader at your dealership, feel that you're getting some great numbers back. And I would tell you from experience that it's very valuable to have outside experienced eyes also take a look, right? Number one, there are other non-traditional benchmarking that I know from experience that many of you, the majority, are not using in your back office. And that is allowing expense to bleed out. It allows talent to not be developed to the level in which it could, which allows them to not contribute in the ways that they could. And the ways that they can is about, like we said, starting to identify their pain points. Why is that pain? Let's not live with it. Let's create the system that goes around it. That's no longer pain. We picked up speed. We picked up gain. All of these things start to come together, and the employee feels more valued. They understand their role in it. They start to feel excited about managing profit, increasing
Let me ask you a question. When you're in the admin departments and you're doing your evaluation, because you've done that many times, are you seen as a threat or are you seen as an ally most of the time? When you go in there, are they all threatened by you? How does that look?
It can be a bit threatening, and I understand that. And one of the first things I tell people is like, hey, I'm not looking for a job, right? I've got one. That's why I'm here with you. And I also share with them that the only reason I go to market is because I absolutely love this. And the people and the groups that I'm passionate about are the back office. Those are my people. I love to see them understand their potential and start to employ it. It's outstanding and
Great.
it serves the business.
So, well, obviously, admin is critical to the deliverable. You can sell all the stuff you want, but if you don't control the income coming in from it, you don't control the processes, you might be spending a whole lot more than you think to deliver it. So it's a great conversation. I think it's a continuous conversation, and I look forward to talking to you again. But I got to tell you, I talk to a lot of people that are trying to help dealers move into different products and services, and it always seems to come back to, well, we just don't have enough time and our admin's overtapped. So obviously that's not true, and obviously there's ways for them to assess it to make sure and validate those reasons. So
I would say you're right, and I would say that that being deterred by your administrative group, that would I don't understand that, right? Because executives come together and they talentedly and presumably strategically formulate the plan. You don't get pushed off of that by an administrative group saying they don't have bandwidth. You challenge back and try to get people's head in the game on it too, because when people's head are in the game, they're willing to figure it out.
Well, I think the challenge of the bandwidth and the challenge into admin with other deliverables is because we don't understand how the new deliverable impacts the old one, but we're trying to deliver it through the processes of the old one. With no foresight, no education, and new processes, which is a disaster. You can't deliver IT services through a print mentality or through a print process. Just like you don't deliver print through an IT process.
Yeah, you need to coach your back office, all of those folks, right? That's 65% of your employee base. You need to be coaching them so that they understand the value of their position. They are valuable and they have great ability to impact performance of the organization.
Well, I agree. So, hey, I look forward to having you back on again. I want to drill into this assessment of admin and really get my head around that and see how we can help dealers with that. Because we all know this, my friends, status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo. Have a fantastic weekend. And Diane, I'll see you next time on The End of the Day with Ray.
Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.